Good morning. Pastor Thomas Nowak, Monona Lutheran Church, Monona, Wisconsin. It's Friday, February 13th. Our reading is Mark 7:34. And looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to them, Ephphatha, that is, be opened, right? So it's entitled Ephphatha. The deaf really like this word. That's a big word for the deaf, be opened. Have you ever been locked up out of your house? We know the sense of frustration that comes with this. In the text, there's a man who'd been locked out of the world. He's brought to Jesus for healing. Jesus takes him away from the crowd. With a sigh, he looks up and then speaks that one Aramaic word, Ephphatha. This word Jesus speaks is for the common man. By speaking this word, Jesus identifies with the man's need. The man now hears clearly, speaks plainly. Jesus sighs. He sighs because he knows that this man's difficulties are a result of original sin, as are all disabilities, illness, and death itself, right? No such thing as an innocent child. The minute the sperm fertilizes the egg, that's a human being conceived in sin. David, Psalm 51, right? I was conceived in iniquity, and in sin did my mother give birth to me, right? So Jesus sighs. He sighs because he knows that this man's difficulties are a result of original sin, as are all disabilities, illness, and death itself. Look around you. What you're seeing is the result of sin. Jesus has the power to bring healing to our diseases. He has the power to open closed things. There are many people who need this word spoken over them. How many tongues speak of many things except Jesus? How many ears are closed to the words of love and favor that God the Father speaks through his Son? Jesus comes to speak this word over all those whose lives need to be open to his presence, healing, and forgiveness. It's through the cross and Easter's empty tomb that Jesus opens the gates of heaven to all who believe, right? So let's talk a little bit about the deaf. Paul says in Romans that faith comes through hearing, and through hearing comes the word. Back in the 1800s and before, the gospel wasn't preached to deaf people because the church believed that they were damned to the glory of God. Because Paul says in Romans that faith comes through the hearing of the word. You see? That's not the case anymore. We have sign language, and they know the gospel as well as we do. But talking about being closed and being opened, okay, doing a vicarage in a deaf church full time, one of the most amazing things you can see is when you're at the deathbed of a person that's been deaf their whole life, born deaf. Most of them are born deaf because the mother got German measles during the pregnancy. At least that's what the deaf tell me, okay? But here you got this old man who hasn't heard a sound his whole life, and he's a minute or two from heaven, and he can see heaven, and he can hear the songs and the praises, and he can hear his loved ones. You can't hear it, but he can, because he's going to be up in heaven in about 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, his face shines, and he gets the biggest smile you've ever seen, and you know that now he can hear. From being closed to being opened, Jesus is the one that opens, right, through faith. An amazing sight for someone that never heard a sound or note in his whole life, and at that moment, 2-3 minutes before he dies, he could hear. I mean, the look on his face is worth over 1,000 words. Ephphatha, be opened. Okay? Here's our prayer. Jesus, for speaking this word over me, I praise your name. Amen.